The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the show. Hi to everyone who is live on our YouTube channel, including everyone who's watching from the I Love It When I Wake Up in the Morning and Barack Obama is President Facebook page and the We Survive Bush, You'll Survive Obama Facebook page. Tragic story over the weekend about Reddit co-founder Aaron Swartz committing suicide in the middle of this controversial trial over some documents that were, I don't even really want to use the term stolen because even that is really kind of up for debate, but we'll get to that. Swartz committed suicide in New York City. He was facing a possible sentence of really decades in jail potentially and $1 million fine over the, I guess, alleged theft of journal articles with the intent to post them online is the best way to say it. He hanged himself in his Brooklyn apartment just weeks before the trial was set to start, according to police. His body was found by his girlfriend, who called emergency services. I mean, just incredibly tragic situation. 26 years old, co-founder of the internet website Reddit, where the David Pakman Show has been featured a couple of times, and we've gotten a ton of traffic from it, and it's a place we look at, I would say daily, just to see what's trending in news stories in different areas.
Right.
He was also the executive director of Demand Progress, which was a website that focused on policy changes for civil liberties, civil rights, government reform, etc. And he was an advocate of making information freely available online. He cooperated with Creative Commons and wanted information to cooperate with Creative Commons. Now, he was charged with allegedly stealing more than 4 million academic journals from JSTOR, which is an archive of scientific journals and academic papers, and this was through an open connection at MIT. So he faced 13 felony charges: breaching site terms, intending to share downloaded files, computer fraud, wire fraud, obtaining information from a protected computer, on and on and on. And he, many say that the lawsuit itself was completely unfounded. Now, why? Because at the time that Swartz obtained these journal articles, he was undertaking a fellowship at Harvard's Safra Center for Ethics, and this qualified him, as many say, for guest access to JSTOR through the MIT connection. So it's actually up for debate whether the entire thing was essentially just a witch hunt or whether there were legitimate charges here. Now, let me take it even further. The incredible thing is that Swartz had already essentially settled this directly. This was unbelievable. Heidi McGregor, who is the vice president of marketing and communications, said that JSTOR was content once they got the documents back. Here's a quote from her. She said, "We stopped the downloading activity. Mr. Swartz was identified. We secured from him the content that was taken and received confirmation that it was not and would not be used, copied, transferred, or distributed." Essentially, this was a done deal, according to the organization, but that didn't matter. The U.S. Attorney's Office said that they were going to go on and investigate, and they were threatening Swartz with decades in prison, hefty fines, and it continued, even though that individual, the victim essentially, said that they had already settled the situation. His family is blaming the U.S. Attorney's Office for his death, saying Aaron's death is not simply a personal tragedy, it's the product of a criminal justice system rife with intimidation and prosecutorial overreach. Decisions made by officials in the attorney's office and at MIT contributed to his death. What do you think?
I think that's, from what I can tell so far, probably an accurate statement.
The plaintiff attorney, Max Kennerly, said that there may not even have been a violation of the law. Forget about whether it was settled or not, saying, "It is by no means clear that Swartz had actually violated the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act." Recently, the Fourth Circuit joined the Ninth Circuit in alleging that violating the terms of service does not constitute a crime. In other words, even though he did violate the terms of service of that particular website, that does not mean that it is a crime. Now, I want to contrast this. Contrast how Aaron Swartz was prosecuted here with how the legal system dealt with corporate America after the 2008 financial crisis. Essentially, no prosecutions of top corporate figures. And this is an individual who was trying to disseminate knowledge, literally, by making journal articles available online against the terms of service of the website. I understand, but apparently not a crime. And that, to the U.S. Attorney's Office, seems to constitute a greater crime than bringing down the United States economy. This doesn't make any sense to me. This really, I understand this is one case. It's one tragic suicide. It's one individual, and we're talking about it because he was one of the co-founders of Reddit. But compare and contrast, ladies and gentlemen, the vastly different judicial philosophies and moral philosophies that this represents.
This just sounds really like a paranoid government trying to make an example of someone.
Witch hunt, you think?
Well, I don't know if you could call it a witch hunt since it was just one person, but certainly...
making an example of one person? I mean, can we say that, Natan?
I don't know. It seems like it'll take a while to find out what really happened here, but we may be jumping the gun a little prematurely into concluding that, he was he felt attacked and threatened to the point where he would want to commit suicide for that purpose alone. I mean, presumably if the evidence was that scant that he was actually committing any serious crimes, his lawyer would have told him that. Certainly, there may be other factors here, mental health factors that would explain this.
I don't know
if we're sure on what's going on here.
That this situation alone with these documents is not what led him to commit suicide, and it would be completely baseless to say that any person being prosecuted like this would have committed suicide. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that this does bring to light an issue that really makes us question judicial priorities in this country.